Hi there, my name's Doug Ward, um, a software developer in Riverside, California. Um, and I have a product to try to talk about today. It's a website builder. It's a website building engine, software engine that sits on a server and allows people to build their own websites. It's going into a very big and competitive market, but it has, I think you'll see, very, very unique aspects to it. And I think you'll see that it might be just the thing for the next startup you might be interested in investing in. Before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about product and what it is. This is a product. It's not a. It's not a. It's not a play to build a product. It is a product. It's, rough on the edges and needs some things to be added to it for mass consumption, but you'll see how it works, and it works great. And so let me tell you a story. Back when I was in the Los Angeles Artist District, Warehouse District, I became acquainted with a guy who called himself Duncan. And Duncan had made a fortune, and then he was on the rebound when I met him, but he made a fortune, and the way he made his fortune is kind of instructive. About the time when the Haight-Ashbury was beginning to seep into American consciousness, right about that time, Duncan was out in Arizona in a van, driving a van around to Indian reservations. And he'd go from res to res, and he'd find the people who were the best silversmiths, who were the silversmiths. And the American Indian tribes in Arizona were wonderful silversmiths. And he went to individual silversmiths' houses or hogans or whatever, and bought their goods, bought their silver encrusted turquoise necklaces, and as many as they had, and then he left orders for more and put money down. And he did this for a while, and then he drove back to LA with his booty, and he arrived back in LA just about the time that Life magazine, or one of the magazines, published a picture of young hippie girls in the Haight wearing American Indian silver encrusted turquoise necklaces. And every single buyer from every single department store chain in the United States was now looking for these things, and they all had to go through Duncan. So that's how he made his fortune. Then, when I knew him, he was actually living around my studio. He's on the rebound, and that's an interesting story. But he persuaded me to take him up north from Los Angeles to visit an acquaintance around Los Gatos to do some business. And so I said yeah, and we drove up there, and turns out this guy's place is on a ridge looking out over everything. Beautiful house. And we spent the weekend there and talked business and had a good time. And the way that this guy got a house looking out over everything was also product. He was the first guy to take those little washers and little grommets and things that go in plumbing fixtures and faucets and maybe toilets and things, but the smallest things, and he would put them in a little plastic bag, and he'd hang them on a hook on a kiosk, on a revolving display stand, which is the pre-digital kiosk, I guess. And everything would have a little instructional packet in it on how you did it. And he caught a wave. He caught the wave of people interested in doing it themselves, the do-it-yourself wave of the mid-60s. And he offered the whole service. He brought in the little carousel and installed it in the hardware store and did the bookkeeping, and they called him whenever it needed to be restocked, and so there he was, living on the edge of San Francisco, looking out over everything. And while we were on his deck looking at it, he had a neighbor who's the corner of his neighbor's yard kind of came up to his property, and you could look over and see the neighbor's yard. Way down the hill was the neighbor's house, and it was an oak-studded place, really nice, large yard. And he said, "Oh yeah," he says, that house belongs to this new computer guy, Stephen Jobs, I think he'd call him. Anyway, so that's all about product. That's what these stories are about. And the things that draw these two guys together is that they had an exclusive product that was integral to a social wave, a wave that was just breaking of social consequences. With Duncan, it was the counterculture, the hippies and things, and with this other guy, it was the do-it-yourselfer, the do-it-yourself phase. And these guys, are at the very top of the wave, and they rode this big swell of public attention and made themselves rich because they had something integral to it that people wanted. And that's what I think I've got here. I think once you see what I've got, I think you'll understand. Now, I want to make a differentiation between a startup that would start with a product and a startup that is set up so that it can figure out how to make a product, or they have an idea and they're going to make a product. It's like Duncan, he would say, when I go out to talk to people, the first thing they say is, "You got product? You got a product for me?" And there's some truth in that. I mean, that's from retail, but it's still true in the digital age. And you say the second thing they tell me is retail schmetail. What does it really cost? Anyway, all right, I'm going to demo this, and I hope you agree with me that it's revolutionary, and it addresses a market that's very competitive. It's got a lot of major players, but it has something to offer, and may just have something to do with a new wave. Who knows? So let me demo it for you. There'll be a segue here. Thank you for listening so far.